Hey everyone, welcome to the Mind Muscle HQ. This is episode 2, and today we've got our Jamie and Matt here with us.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
So let's start it off with how we're doing this week. What's the week brought for us? Matt, what have you been up to?
For me, a milestone this week. On Tuesday, I was 50 years old, so half a century. So yeah, the big birthday, I suppose. I don't feel 50 years old, but hopefully I don't look it either.
Of course not.
Definitely not.
Yeah, apart from that, this week been a little bit relaxed on a work side, been for food, obviously, with my birthday.
What did you have?
Um,
What did you go out for?
so at the weekend, we went out for an Italian.
Very nice.
So with some friends, and then on Tuesday, we went to an Italian again for brunch, and then we just went in the evening to a pub.
Nice.
So... And then on Friday, we're actually doing a little bit more birthday stuff, and we're going for cryotherapy.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying that out. So
it's very good. I'd like to know how you find that, actually.
Yeah, I've not done it before. I've wanted to do it. And there's a local kind of therapy place that does it. So we're trying that out. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
So just for some of the listeners that obviously don't know what that is, Matt, do you want to explain what that is?
Basically, it's kind of the opposite to a hot sauna. It's a cold therapy sauna, and I would imagine there's different types. I'm not an expert in this, so the one that I'm going in a chamber which covers me from shoulder downwards, the whole entire body, and it basically just immerses your body in a cold temperature, like freezing conditions. Basically, I think it's only a short period of time that we're
I'm sure it's about 3 minutes, isn't it?
I think it's something like, I thought it was like 3 to 5 minutes maybe, but yeah, it's very, very cold, like a shock response. It's meant to have lots of benefits to it. I'm not sure if all the data has been proven, the benefits yet, but things like reduction in inflammation and recovery of injuries, increased lymphatic drainage. So Jamie will be interested in that.
Yeah.
Enables an increase in blood to flush around the body. So yeah, I think lots of potential benefits to it.
I am actually a big believer in cold water therapy, and the cold shock to the body.
Yeah, well, you must have done that during the SAS thing. So.
I was going to say, you didn't have a choice, Sonny. You were just dumped. I don't like cold water. Tough. Boof.
Well, that's why I was so recovered, you see. That's what helped me get through.
Mate, honestly, your episode where you guys did that, I was the first, because I read, obviously, Iceman Hoff is a big guy of cold therapy, right? And you did that, and I remember there's the episode, I can't remember which one it was, but the guy was literally saying, if you can't overcome your mind, like, that's your weakness, it's nothing to do with the physicality. And then I was like, I'm gonna have a fucking cold shower. They can do it, I can do it. I could not get in the thing. I could not do it. I like literally, as soon as it hit my toe, I ran. So what I like you said though, like, you trick yourself a little bit though, because what I do is I stand under the shower now. I do like 60, it's after a sauna as well, which probably isn't the smartest thing. I do loads of deep breaths, and I have my hand on the switch to the shower. And because your shower takes a good, 30 seconds to warm up? Well, mine does, because I'm in a poorhouse. I literally sit there and I just sort of jolt myself forward without thinking about it. And it hits me, and you're so cold, you can't freaking move anyway. So you're stuck there for like 30 seconds. But that's literally how I do it. I can't walk into it. I don't know what it is, but I find it really odd.
But it's just getting that breathing under control.
It takes freaking ages to
mind, and then reap all the benefits.
Yeah. Cold bar.
And what about you, Jamie? What have you been up to?
Sorry, I was just going to say, what we should do is like a challenge. Jamie, you have to try and beat Tyler to a challenge.
Oh, should we do this?
Yeah, a cold water challenge. See if we can beat Tyler.
Oh, we can try it. I'll be the first one out. The minute it hits my bits, I'll be jumping straight out.
We need to do this.
Yeah, we need
Matt,
to do
you too.
Yeah, we definitely need to do something like that.
No, yeah,
I sw-
I'll give it a go.
I swear that I won't be beaten by Tyler. It can't happen.
I've got zero pride. I will happily be beat. I'm like,
I
Tyler's
reckon
practically in the army.
yeah, and I reckon my chances are pretty slim, to be honest.
Take them chances, the game's on.
We got to do that now. We've definitely got to do it.
We are going to do that.
Sorry, Jamie, I interrupted. What have you been up to this week?
Oh no, to be honest, mate, I've done another hard week of studying. Studying, and yeah, I actually have no idea. It's literally my protocol's kind of taken up all my time, if I'm honest, which we'll be going into later to listeners. That's taken up a lot. So there's a lot of sauna sessions, stuff like that, lymphatic work, but all in all, just training, studying, and working. So yeah, pretty much it really. Nothing too fancy my end. So today we're studying minerals. I studied mineral content for 90 minutes, 2 hours. So I tend to time myself. And then last week I finished up plant-based dieting and then looking into carnivore dieting. Next would be, by the way, I'm on the Carter Institute. That's where I'm getting this information from Jake Carter. And just studying my arse off really. And then, yeah, pretty much it. My life really.
All those topics you just mentioned then, like obviously plant-based and carnivorous, as well as minerals. You know, they're huge topics. Health topics and food related topics. I'm pretty certain that we'll get to talk about those at some point on this podcast. And the mineral one in particular is something that I'm interested in because I think the benefit. I always try to. I'm no expert on minerals, by the way. You've already probably overtaken me.
I'm no expert, believe me.
But the vast. What's the word I'm looking for? The benefits of minerals are huge. You don't even realize that the benefits and health issues with not having mineral deficiencies. So I think that's a topic that we'll talk about some point later on.
Well, blood work can easily pick up on these things as well. Like, for example, if people have a vitamin D deficiency, right, what's the first thing they do? They reach for a vitamin D supplement. Yeah. Whereas vitamin D, without the presence of a decent amount of magnesium, you can't actually convert it into bioactive form. So if you're taking 20,000 IU, but your magnesium's through the floor, doesn't matter. Same with vitamin D. Yeah, same with vitamin D and K2. So if someone's got digestive issues, which let's be honest, is actually 80% of us, probably more to be fair, you don't have a sufficient release and production of K2. So if that's occurring, vitamin D if it's low in a blood test, it doesn't mean it's the issues, the mineral itself, the vitamin itself, sorry. It could literally mean there's other things going on. Like it could even, again, I'm no doctor, disclaimer here, it's just me talking out of recommendations. I should have started with that. But if someone's taking the contraceptive pill, for example, that can severely reduce B6 and magnesium, which then can have downward effects to vitamin D deficiency, immune system function, virtually everything. If anyone looks into the benefits of vitamin D, it's virtually everything. So there's so much more to it, and people see it as just a pill to answer their questions when it can be so many other things as well. So sorry to chirp in there, Tyler, you were talking.
So my week is, I actually had my birthday as well. So I'm pretty close to you, Matt. Mine was on Saturday.
You're not close to NATO, are you? You're not like 49 or 48.
Well, I don't know. I'm getting close. So
you don't look it.
I'm feeling it right now. I'm in the summer holidays with the two boys. I'm trying to juggle training, work, and everything, and it's pretty chaotic right now. But we get it done. At the weekend, I
was just going to say, Tyler. I mean, again, one of the reasons, we brought you onto this show was for that reason there you just said about trying to be a good mother. Trying during obviously the summer holidays, looking after the kids, having a full-time job with lots of clients, trying to do all this as well as training yourself, and that is a huge. Thinking about the amount of hours that takes as well as the responsibility, that's massive. And I think a lot of people will be asking you questions. How do you do that? And I think it'll be really good topic to talk about. How do you manage your time? How do you do that? How do you cope with the stress? How do you get your training in? How do you manage your diet? How do you still stay sane and not shout at the kids? And all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, do you know, it takes time, and the main thing for me that helps me is structure, having a solid structure. But I'm very much a creature of habit. very methodical, which is why I think bodybuilding suits me so well, because that, that's the basics of what you need to be like personality wise. Speak of the devil, we have
perfectly timed.
my 5-year-old peeping in. So yeah, structure for me, but also, the attitude of not making excuses. Sometimes it'd be pretty easy to kind of just, do you know what, I'm tired, I've had a stressful day. The kids have been a nightmare today, and I just won't go and do my training. But that's kind of a non-negotiable for me. But I haven't always been that way, and I will go obviously more into depth into that, because I think that will be a great subject. We will do that very soon, Mr. Okay, very soon. And stress levels for me is where the gym helps me massively. That's. But the strange thing is, I don't even feel stressed in the gym. It's more of a time for me, and I think that's something that's important when you've got children, to have that time for yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
To concentrate on yourself, because you spend so much time running about, letting life take over, and then you forget about yourself. So that's why I enjoy my training so much. So yeah, the weekend I took the 2 boys wild camping for my birthday, where we spent 2 nights out in the wild, having a barbecue, doing some cold water therapy.
Poor kids.
Jamie, it was actually the kids' idea. This was 8 o'clock in the morning. They said, "Mum, can we get a nature bath?" So 8 o'clock in the morning, we were in there swimming, and you know what? It was just so nice to escape from the world for a couple of days and spend some really quality time together.
Oh, brilliant! Tyler, I'm pretty certain our guests would love to hear a little bit more about how you manage your time, the strength, from the mindset. What is it that drives you? How do you not let yourself slip and go on the couch and say I'm not going to train tonight, or how do you do all these things? And I think that, if you don't mind, I think that would be a really great topic to talk about maybe next week.
Definitely.
And I think, if I'm right, part of your coaching and part of one of the services that you offer is on your website. I can't remember the name. You'll have to tell me. Or is this like you've got this structure or mindset thing that you talk about?
Yeah, the strong body, strong mind mentality.
That's it. Yeah. So maybe we could bring that up and talk a little bit about that, because I'm sure that's come from you, and that's developed from lessons learned, in your own life. So.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to talk about that, because there's a lot of skills and tools that I've kind of put together over years, that's helped me be able to do it, and it hasn't been easy. And I think that's the first lesson that you need to know. Sometimes the good things in life aren't easy, and it's accepting that, and you need to be prepared to sometimes make some sacrifices. But if that sacrifice is something that's important to you to achieve by missing out on that, then you just need to follow your heart and your head and continue.
It's an investment, not a cost, right?
It is. That's right. Yeah.
I love that, and I absolutely think that is definitely one of the most important things that our listeners could listen to. So if next week we do that, that'll be great.
Yeah, that's a good subject. That'll be great to talk about.
Okay, cool. So I believe that we've got a few questions that we're going to cover.
We do. So the main topic really of this podcast is fat loss, dieting, basically to lose some body fat. And I've had quite a few questions sent over to me, and I know you two's had a few yourselves. And the first one I want to bring up, we found this one to be quite a really interesting subject, actually. Somebody has said they're not happy with the body image. What can I do to improve this?
Okay, so
to say, he wants to go first on that one.
Yeah,
well, I think this is one that we could potentially go back and forth on, but obviously this person, I don't know whether it's male or female, it's irrelevant. They've said they don't like the way that they look, and they want to improve their image.
That's actually a good quick note, actually. Like, people always assume that's female, when I'm telling you now that is just as commonly males. Just males just don't talk about it. But yeah, sorry to cut you off, Matt. Yeah.
No, it's fine. So I've forgotten the train of thought slightly. But,
sorry, dude.
It's okay. Don't worry. It's fine. So she's not happy. They are not happy with their body image, and they want to improve their body image. Now, it's funny because the three people that we've got here, myself, Jamie, and Tyler, we all do different things, and we're focused on different things. And I'm an expert. My speciality is changing people's physiques. So how do I improve my body image? Well, I could tell her how to sorry, I keep saying the word her. I could tell them how to do that. But I actually think, for me personally, there's a much deeper issue here to talk about. And the first thing they said was that they weren't happy with their body image. And that's the biggest topic there, because that person's probably unlikely to ever be happy with their body image, no matter what changes they make to their physique effectively. They've probably got an image in their head of what they want to look like. And then ask someone like me, can you make me look like this person, or can you help me look like this person? And I can do. And what my speciality is to help people to get to stage and fit within a certain criteria on stage. But I believe that a lot of the guests that we're going to have aren't necessarily people that are going to get on stage. And for me personally, the deeper question is really around happiness and being happy with their body image. And that's the first.
The reflection of what you're seeing.
Yes, exactly. I think that's the key, is be comfortable in your own skin. I mean, everyone can make improvements. And generally, you know what, a lot of the improvements are not around visual. It's too much around visual. It's around health. It's being fitter, being able to get off, do things quicker, or have
wake
more
up with energy. Yeah, just more energy. Yeah,
and an abundance of energy can make you feel better. It make your mindset be different, and actually make yourself, be happier, and then actually not really care about your image too much. Because I guarantee a lot of those images that these people want to look like are very, very, very hard to achieve and maintain, to the point where you can't be happy. It's very difficult to look like these people all year round. And honestly, trust me, to get on stage and look like some of these people can have really negative effects. And they can come out the other side of stage and be really, really ill. Health issues, mind issues, mental health issues.
I know when I compete, Matt, when I'm stage lean, I actually can't wait to start putting on some body fat, because I feel really weak. My sleep's all over the place, and I'm just not performing at my best in the gym. So for me, that's really not a comfortable place for me to be. It's just not sustainable for me and my lifestyle. So I'm actually more comfortable once I've put on, probably around 8 to 10 kilograms from stage weight, and that's kind of my happy place.
Exactly. And where you're coming from now, Tyler, is you've got the journey to help you along with this. You've kind of lived and breathed the journey yourself, which we'll talk about on next week's podcast, and it kind of touches on with this. A lot of these people don't really understand the whole bigger picture, and they are really looking at it from a visual perspective. And Jamie's probably going to touch on this. It could be related to your upbringing with your parents or siblings, or an issue at school, being bullied, or a previous relationship, a partner, or I have had relationships with partners that have literally had serious kind of issues with the body, because of the previous partners have said things like, you're way too fat, you need to lose weight, and then it's driven this illness in them to want to lose weight. And it's really, really sad. So, I mean, I've talked quite a bit there. So you guys, you've probably got a little bit to say yourself.
Well, I'll pick up on the mental side of things. So it's incredibly, it's really that one thing that people overlook is the emotional side of things, right? And everyone always looks at what they're eating, what they're doing, but you need to remember that the emotions you have, they can scar your body in some ways. And this is why psychologists and NLP coaches are pretty much priceless, is if you have like a really strong event when you're younger where your parents are always on you, like to be successful, be this, be that, you're going to grow up to be someone that's very wired and can't relax. It's just because of the upbringing, right? So people forget that. And like Matt said, if you have a partner that's, let's be honest, mentally abuse you, and it's happened, like we're coaches, we see this a lot, and unfortunately a lot of it's female based, which is really upsetting, right? Is where they feel like their partner makes them feel inadequate, and that their body composition doesn't reflect what that partner sees as ideal, even though they're with them, which is even more messed up. And they just really put it into their head they're not good enough. Now you start, if you're told you're not good enough for long enough, I don't care how mentally strong you are, you will start to believe it. Like, for example, I know from my own past, I was heavily overweight. If anyone knows my story, for years, I thought I was fat. Even when I was at my leanest, I still thought I was fat. It's just what happens through past experience, right? And again, this is where it has to. So if you're someone that's not comfortable in your body image, ask yourself, are abs really going to make you happy? Anyone that's been there and got abs, they make you feel good. However, that doesn't equal happiness.
That's really true.
You see what I mean? And if you're saying I'm not happy in my own skin, you can wake up and go, I'm not happy with my progress, but I'm happy with my life. They're two very different things. And people see this journey to like the 6-pack abs or whatever you want to call it, which is actually quite unhealthy in a lot of populations, to be fair, as like their almost end goal to happiness. And it's never going to go that way. I can tell you, all three of us can tell you, it's never going to go that way. You have to be able to wake up, and I'm a big believer in this. I think it was actually Will Smith that said this. It's a little bit of a cringy thing coming here, but if you with someone that they don't make you happy, you should be able to make yourself happy, regardless of where you are. And it's your partner should actually amplify that happiness. So stop relying on someone else to make you happy. So in other words, if you wake up and you look in the mirror and you hate yourself and you say very poisonous things to yourself, you are creating a downward spiral for your future, right? So you have to work on yourself first before you can even attempt to help others or inspire others or anything like that. But that is so much more than your calorie intake, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Don't get it wrong. God, sorry, sorry.
You're actually a reflection of your thoughts.
Exactly. And this is the thing, right? Don't get me wrong, I can go on a tangent on hormones and the gut health side of things, but it all comes down to your perception of yourself. If your perception of yourself is poor, no amount of dieting, no amount of advice from someone like Matt is going to help you until you'll mask it. You'll create a suit of armor. That's what bodybuilding is in a massive way, is you make a suit of armor that makes you feel more secure, right? Like breakups make bodybuilders is a very famous saying, right? From my aspect, that is very true. And again, you're trying to create a shield, but if that shield can always be taken away, so you need to be. It's a very hard thing to describe, but you just have to be almost in a hippie mindset, happy with yourself first, and then you tackle this journey to almost amplify that happiness. Does that make sense, guys? Am I rabbiting?
Yeah,
see, I actually want to know what image this person actually has in mind, you know.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really important, the fine line, you know, between the images that we see on social media of these perfect, you know, males. You've got the kind of ripped physique, and females with the hourglass figures, which pretty much all of them is down to angles of the cameras for a start.
And most of them live at home with their parents and don't have kids and a job. Let's be honest. So, and again, people compare themselves in a different lifestyle situation, which is probably the hardest part of it, which Tyler's going to go into next week, obviously.
Yeah, that's true. And you know, there's actually a fine line, because you know, it's great to look good, but it's even more important to feel better. And it's just finding that place where you feel comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah, I think so. So logically, the steps, if we were to think about how do we help this person, I think logically the steps would be to, the this is my interpretation of it. I would say that first of all, analyze your situation. So look around you. Look around. Have you got a hostile relationship with someone that's creating a damaging thoughts or things like that? Try and look around. Is it a partner? Is it a friend? Is it work colleagues? Look,
yeah, any negative energies.
Yeah,
basically their circle, right?
Yeah, have a look at the circle. See if there's any negative energies coming from someone. If there is, then obviously that's a top. That's a different topic. And my advice there is make your circle small. That's difficult when it's friends, close friends or family. But that's sometimes people have negative things to say to control people. It's a big, massive topic again. So I would just say you try to ignore that. But the next step would be to, I can't remember if it was Tyler said it or Jamie said it, but look inward at yourself and try to be happy with yourself. So focus inwardly on yourself. Ignore the external negative. If it's coming internally within, then that's up to you to manage that internal issue, dilemma or problem, whatever it is. If you physically don't like yourself, you've got to stop allowing that devil in your mind to keep waking up and going, I hate the way I look today, I hate the way I look. You've got to try and do something about it.
At the end of the day, this world is very good at making you feel like shit, so why do it to yourself?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we are our own worst enemies. We've all got that little demon in our head that says things to us that we don't like. And then the next step, I would say, to improving your body image, if you're then comfortable with who you are, is I would try to do some kind of exercise that you enjoy, that makes you happy and makes you get fitter at the end of the day and have more energy. The key to this is not necessarily a system to lose weight or change your body image. The first step is to strengthen your mind, be happier, and probably have more energy. You're probably feeling a little bit tired, probably, potentially some of the outcomes of not exercising properly and not having a healthy diet are hormonal imbalances, things that can affect the way that you think. But
even deficiencies that we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. There's lots of things that, if you start to exercise, if you do start to eat healthy, your mindset can change. And the biggest positive change is an uplifting mindset that makes you much, much stronger. So I think that's my tip of the day, I would say, to help that person.
Yeah, I think if you started introducing some training in as well, you're mentally going to feel as though you're working towards something, because I know if I had maybe an image in my mind of, I want to look or feel this certain way, my first instinct would be, I need to make a plan on how I'm going to progress towards this, because if you don't have any kind of plan, then you're almost stuck in limbo mode, which
with no structure, there's no chaos, right? With no structure, it's just pure chaos. Yeah,
which is almost actually a worse feeling, where if you put yourself together, a plan that's going to work towards that body image that you actually desire, then getting to the gym and getting them endorphins flowing and actually start making some progress towards that goal, you're going to start feeling better in yourself 100% anyway, aren't you?
Exactly. Endorphins, that was the word I was looking for before.
Always remember dolphins. That's how I remember that word. I don't know why.
I'm probably going to say dolphins next time I say that.
Honestly, I always relate it to an animal.
Jamie, did you have any more to say on that one, on that particular one?
Just from a personal aspect here, give me personal here. If anyone in your life ever makes you feel not good enough, do everything in your power to remove them from your life, which can be very difficult to do. Or like Matt said, just make you, so say for example, it's your spouse. You just distance yourself And I come from a family that are lovely, but we are we're very rough with each other and very brutally honest. So if I'm having times where I'm not feeling great, like last year I had a big episode, I would stay away from them in some aspects, but then gravitate towards them when I knew they would help. But what I'm trying to say here is, if you know someone's not going to help the situation you're in, either speak to them first, always speak to them, because you should never run from your issues, in my opinion. But either try and resolve the situation where they realize what they're doing, because a lot of people don't realize what they're doing in some ways, or it depends on your personality type. Are you someone that attacks a challenge, or are you someone that runs from it? And either of them are fine in some ways, it's how you are as a person. But personally, if someone's making you feel like that, first to express to them they're doing it, and if they genuinely don't care, I would erase them as much as you can. And personally, the toxic, I'll use the word vibes, but the toxic environment that person will create on you will be more health damaging, and more just your life is going to be pretty crappy with something constantly holding you back. It's like anything. If you have a friend that is just doing nothing with their life and you hang around them, do you really believe you're going to be seriously successful in your own life? This is what happens. We become a product of our environment. If your environment is poisonous, you're going to become quite poisonous and probably start doing the same thing to someone else. I'm trying to avoid to go on a tangent here, but yeah, I would just say to avoid the situation. And once you can truly say that you're in a more positive environment, then chase your goals, or do both at the same time if you want to. But just always remember that physical goal is always going to be a suit of armor that you're trying to cover up. So I'd always try and deal with that issue either at the same time or as a priority first. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my own sort of look at it.
Again, there's a big, massive topic there that, again, we could, if we're doing these podcasts every single week, we're going to need lots of topics, and
and a lot of time.
Yeah, and I think success. You talked about achieving your goals, but ultimately success. The people who are the most successful are the ones that are surrounded by the right people, or they've eliminated the toxic people around them that are holding them back. As well as obviously personal drive and luck also comes into it and things like that. But I think for me, that would be a good topic to talk about success and how do you achieve success, and that kind of thing. So
I'll be taking notes when you talk about that, Matt.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty certain we're all been successful at something.
So one of the other questions that I think would be great to cover, because this actually came up quite a lot in different ways, was the best diet for fat loss, the best weight loss secret. So how would you start off with that? Do you want to start with that, Jamie?
So me, as soon as Tyler said it, it's just, first of all,
I'm just going to go for a walk, about 10 minutes. I'll be back in a minute.
This person just, so I will probably let Matt take this one, but let me just put my 2 pence in, because there's a lot of pences. So first of all, whoever tells you there's a secret, and I talk about a lot of random shit that most people think I'm a giant hippie. I'm sitting on a grounding mat, put it that way, right? I'm a massive hippie and I talk about a lot of stuff. However, if you do not nail the basics, and I'm talking deficit, health, optimization, all these things, and basics can go more advanced than people think. There's just no secret, no pill, no potion, no protocol, no nothing is going to do sweet fuck all for you unless you follow a structure. If you buy something from, I nearly said a company's name, but I probably can be sued, a company that's very famous for selling you herb products, clue there, to people from like the Only Way is Essex and stuff like that. And basically, if you ever buy something from something that's very popular, be very hesitant. It's unfortunate that when things are popular, I would say a good 60 to 70% of the time, they're useless. They're popular through marketing. There are some obviously that are popular because they're great, but it's just, but yeah, if you always,
Jamie, it's a multi-million-pound industry, and where there's money, then there's people, trying exactly that.
And yeah, and that's the thing. It's being aware of that, and you need to remember what's the first thing we all did when we were younger, right? We looked at Arnie, we looked at people in the gym that look amazing. You're going to think that person has the quote unquote secret because they look like that. You need to remember there's so many variables that go into that. So many, from genetics to lifestyle to things we mentioned earlier, okay? And if you're trying to find a secret, I'm sorry, there isn't one. It's going to involve hard work regardless, but you need to nail the basics first, which I will now let Matt go on.
Yeah, I mean, well, even things as severe as gastric surgery, you know, that itself isn't even magic, because you've got to stick to a certain diet, you know, the calorie restrictions and all that kind of thing. So, you know, even something where you're having to have surgery to reduce the size of your stomach is often you know, not enough. So
Yeah.
I think what the actual question was, what's the best fat loss diet?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try to break this down a little bit. Obviously, Jamie's touched on diets, and you know, I don't mind mentioning a few of the names, because it's good that people know that they're a load of shit. And,
I just wasn't sure if we were allowed to, and I can
Yeah.
rant for days.
Well, unless we get sued, hopefully I don't. But it's my opinion on.
Damn it! I didn't think of that. You would have got a list.
On anything that's got a product, let's not risk putting a name in, but anything that's got a product name and you can buy a product from their diet online or in a supermarket is generally, there's a little bit of feedback there. It's generally the company's interest is to make money. They don't really care about the individual. So let's just make that straight. The best fat loss diet doesn't have to have a label to it. Doesn't need to be called the slimming whatever, or
the weight something. There we go.
It doesn't have to have a name or a brand or a product to it. The best fat loss diet is food. We all need to eat food, and the best fat loss diet is to eat food. That's what it comes down to. We have to eat food. It's the quantity of food and the type of food. Now, if you want that branded up in a shiny little box with lots of things on it, that's going to cost you a bomb, and you know, then go for that. But and to be fair, some of these things do actually work. They will, you know, we can't deny that, you know, that the juice diet and things like these, they work. But the basic principle is the same. What they're trying
So how
to do.
exactly do you feel on that diet? I couldn't imagine, you know, a 10-day juicing diet.
I have done a juicing diet for 4 days, and it was initially, this was quite a few decades ago now, about 15 years ago, and it was to do it for a detox, to flush the system out, and basically, you know, juice for 4 days, literally you would just, you know, it was pure liquid coming out. It was very bright colors, and you were just constantly starving. It was, I couldn't live that. I had no energy, fatigue, and that was just for 4 days. So, you know, that's an extreme diet, which will cause fat loss.
That would cause me to rebound. That actually, I would find if I went through a stage of that intense hunger for that long, without really an end to it, and then what do you go after that 10 to 12 days? You know what happens? You haven't really got a plan B, so you just go back to your old ways, don't you?
Well, yeah. So you've just touched on really a massive topic why these diets fail. So you've got all these buy them in a box, off the shelf type diets, and you know, they've all got the names, etc. And they all do pretty much help you lose weight. You just hit the nail on the head, Tyler. By what happens when you come off that diet, what happens the other side of that diet, and without a plan, without a lifestyle to follow, then you're right, you come back, and what happens is you often rebound, is the word, you know, and you often gain weight at such an accelerated rate that higher than when you started. And most people you speak to, and I would imagine people are going to comment on this. Yeah, I've done Weight Watchers and Slimming World and all this, and I started off, I lost a load of weight, then it didn't change, and then I've put on loads more weight than when I started. I could guarantee that.
Even now you start labeling foods as sins, which is a really bad relationship with food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the basics, the real basics, are, and I'm sure any experts out there, could question this, and we're touching at the very, very basic level, but it does come down to the energy that you burn up in a day, and that's whether it's sat on a couch, whatever you do, work, go to the gym. That energy that you burn up, that the output is balanced with the energy that you consume, take in, so the food that you eat. Now, if you eat more than you use up effectively, so more food in than you burn up, then you're going to gain weight. You're in a calorie excess. If you eat less, and so you're in a calorie deficit, and you burn more energy than you eat, then the calorie deficit should help you lose weight. That's the basic crux of any diet. So all those ones that you buy off the shelf, they're trying to create a deficit, a calorie deficit diet. That's what they're trying to do.
It's also worth to note that the weight side of things as well is people always equate weight to fat loss. Now we know, like I will be going on a tangent on this later, people, but you just to make it very obvious to people, if I chopped your leg off, you would lose weight, but would you be happier? Would you reach your goals? Like, you can lose a shitload of weight by losing a leg. I've had clients where they've had hair implants put in, and like hair extensions. Geez, you have any idea how much that stuff weighs? And then they genuinely don't realize that. And then they message me the next day and go, I've gained half a kilo. I'm like, you need to realize that there's so much more to weight. A very small amount of weight loss is actually fat loss. So if anyone ever sells you weight loss, well, that's actually that's not fair, because there are times it actually is like honest. But most of the time when these companies try and sell weight loss, they know what they're doing. They're low carbing you, so you lose muscle glycogen. They're losing water. They're losing this. You're restrictive eating. You lose inflammation, all this stuff. And as soon as you eat, quote unquote, to your normal pattern that you haven't changed for the lifelong change that you should have done, you're then going to rebound exactly what they said. And then that weight's going to come back on, and then you're going to have a yo-yo diet for the rest of your life. Sorry, Matt, continue.
No. I mean, it's a really, really hot topic, subject there as well, because I try to constantly remind them as well, my clients, around weight, and they're always looking on the scales. And two of my clients this week, I'm not going to name you, so don't worry, I've messaged me this week already and said, I've gained 2 pounds this week, and is my weight going out of control? Do we need to change something? And obviously, because it's hot, because it's hot, we're sweating differently, or we're using our electrolyte balances slightly differently, and what's happening is we're starting to drink more, we're holding more water, so we're going to gain water, and gaining that water ultimately will increase our body weight. Now, everybody who wants to lose weight, quotes, is really talking about they want to get leaner and lose body fat. That's what Jamie was talking about.
Yeah.
And the biggest, you touched on a few, there are a few tricks in the book that people can do to, these miraculous diets that you can make you lose a stone in 21 days and things like that. I'm not against some of those, because...
So I've just done one, you bugger.
No.
No, I'm playing.
Some of them are lying to you, but others, depending on what they're trying to achieve, because again, weight, right, let's talk about weight. So if someone, and this is a bit of a crude topic, but a lot of people don't go to the toilet very often, and some of them might not even go, once in in a week, sometimes once in 10 days, and they're still eating food every day, and so they're accumulating mass inside, and when they do go to the toilet, it doesn't often come out as well as it should do. So if you were to go on a diet where that helps your digestive system and helps you go to the toilet, well, then you're going to lose weight at the end of that. So that diet has helped you detox.
You'll feel a lot better as well, won't you?
Oh, definitely. So So that diet there, at the end of it, you're going to lose weight, but it's rough weight. It's basically it's weight that didn't need to be in the body. It's not fat, and that would have, we once we've gone to the toilet, then we lose weight. Also, things like you'd be surprised that people weigh themselves with different clothes on. Or at different times of the day. So someone might weigh themselves mid-afternoon after just eating, a big food, a lunch, and got the trainers on, and they've got a mobile phone in the pocket and keys, and then weigh themselves the next day just getting out of bed, with no clothes on, and they're 3 or 4 pounds lighter, and they're like, I've lost 4 pounds today. But it's surprising how much mistakes people make. They don't realize. Just a simple thing of how I might measure weight or get my clients to do it. What I do is I try to get them to do it as often as possible. So daily, if possible. And then what we do is they do it the same time every day in the same place. And then I just take the average at the end of the week. I don't look at the daily. So when they say to me, like the 2 clients this week have said to me, I've gained 2 pounds this week. I said, I don't care, to be honest. Let's not micromanage our weight on a daily basis. What I'm concerned about is the average at the end of the week. And that's what we should look at from a.
And then I think, Matt, and with our coach and what we do as well, how much we very rarely go on the weight. The weight, it can vary so much, and especially if you're actually going to the gym and exercising, you've then got to transform and fat into lean muscle mass, then weighing more than what body fat does. So sometimes the weight can go up, and yet you're actually looking leaner, and that's why weight isn't that thing that you need to focus on so much.
Yeah. Well, so what you're saying effectively is weight isn't an accurate measurement of kind of fat content. Yeah. And so there are other tools that we use as coaches to get a bigger picture. And when you accumulate those all together, then we can make an assessment and look. So, it's quite often, my client, they get upset and they go, I've gained 2 pounds this week. And then I'll go, okay, let me check, let's go through the data and let me have a look. And I'll go through the data and I'll look, and, they do the measurements, they'll send me pictures. Obviously I've got their weight. Sometimes I do get them to do fat caliper measurements as well, depending on what phase we're in and what we're trying to achieve. And then combined with all that, you can get, they may have gained 2 pounds, and the measurements might not have changed. But when you look at their pictures, visually, they look so much better. They might look sharper. You can see that they look leaner, and you can say, look, visually, you look so much better. And really, that's the most important thing, is how they look. That none of us have like tattoos on our head with our body weight on, so no one else knows how heavy we are. But everyone will look at you and judge how you look. They don't care about how much you weigh. So, when someone asks how heavy are you, they're not going to, they don't really care about the weight. They're looking at you thinking, do you look good or do you look bad? Or do you look heavy or do you look light or whatever? So what the weight thing people need to get over. I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there. The question was best fat loss diet. Again, one of my specialities, one of the things is getting people on stage, and to be on stage, you need to have very little body fat. So there are techniques and things to do that. And again, this is a whole topic in itself. But some things I would recommend, the basics, obviously, you have to tip the scales of in and out, calories in and calories burned. So make sure you're exercising. Just going on a diet alone is absolutely pointless. You need to include exercise.
It's a quick way to get skinny fat, believe me, people. It's a very quick way to get skinny fat.
Yeah.
I quite like from a beginner's approach, Matt. Sorry to interrupt them, but from an absolute beginner, not following any diet, would be to actually just to write a diary of what they're eating day to day, and just eliminate some of the foods that aren't great for you. So to try and just clean up the actual foods that you're consuming, so that you know, if you're thinking about health, you know, it's fresh food, unprocessed. And I think just by eliminating processed food, you will start, you know, losing.
You'll feel better for sure.
You will,
I mean,
yeah.
And if you feel better, you'll move more.
Yeah. So again, that's a really good point. And what I was going to say then, eliminating processed food is definitely a really good suggestion. But the key to success for fat loss is to ensure that the person can adhere to that plan. That's the single most important factor over everything. So the very first step on someone who's brand new to this all and comes from a background of really eating shit and all kinds of stuff, in my experience, is to say to them, okay, write a food diary down. And I'll give you, an example of a client that came to me. They were overweight. Their diet consisted of things like, for breakfast, they would have, I don't know, some kind of Cocoa Pops with thick creamy milk and sugar on top, and and then they would have fish and chips for dinner with a battered Mars bar. It was like, and then for tea they would have McDonald's.
Battered Mars bars.
Yeah, no, I'm not like,
I've tried one. I couldn't get on with it.
But or they'd have packets of crisps and biscuits, and they were honest in the food plan. And my first, if I said to them, okay, let's clean your diet up, let's go on whole food, greens, they would have looked at it and probably done it for a couple of days and then sacked it off, and then that would have been the end of the weight loss journey. Yeah. So effectively, what I say to people in that scenario, the first steps will be, look at all the food types that aren't great. So look at your sugary foods, look at your processed foods, look at your fatty foods as well, which are trans fats and the bad fats. So things like full fat Coke, chocolate bars, crisps, cakes, anything along those lines. Look at those, and if they're in your diet, just maybe cut those down by a half and say, okay, so say if you had 2 Mars bars in a day, cut it down to 1 Mars bar. Say if you had, so a good one used to be, and most people don't have tea and sugar in their tea or coffee anymore, but a lot of people used to have like 3 or 4 spoonfuls of sugar in their tea or coffee. And you'd say
okay, 6 as a kid, just to point out.
Well, yeah, but it's kind of, most people have cut back on sugar now, but that was one of the first things he'd always say, how many sugars do you have in your tea or coffee? And they go like 3 or 4. So the first step is reduce that by half. If you were on 4, take it to 2. If you're on 3,
a simple step like that can make such a huge difference as well, can't it?
Massive. The sugar, the tea still tastes similar, and then after a week it tastes just the same. And you do that for a week or 2, and then you cut it down again by half, and then you eradicate sugar completely. And then so you're taking it step by step, and you're leading that person into a process that they can follow, and then you can lead them off the, you've kind of weaned them off the sugar. And then you wean them off the cakes and the fizzy drinks, and then you can start to introduce like healthier foods, get away from the deep fried foods and all these kind of stuff, and then there you've got someone onto a healthy plan without really saying to them, well, you need to cut all your calories down, you need to go on 1,000 calories, you need to eat cucumber and lettuce for 3 of your meals a day, you need to fast and not eat anything in the morning and all this kind of stuff. That's probably the first step, is to look at what things could you reduce, make small changes first, instead of, and that's probably the biggest issue that most people make. They go, right, I want to lose weight, I'm going to join the gym, and I'm going to go on this diet. And they go on this diet where they've reduced the calories by 1,500 or 2,000 calories a day in one go. And then going from no exercise to literally doing an hour's treadmill every day, plus 1 one of these exercise classes, a Zumba class or something like that. So 2 hours a day. So from 0 to 2 hours to losing 2,000 calories. They're like this for a week. And then at the end of the week, they're like, oh my God, I can't move. And I forget that. And then they go back to eating ice cream on the couch again.
Yeah, it's just too extreme, isn't it?
Yeah. So small steps is the key. And you know what? Even when I've got someone who's really, really experienced, who's been on stage lots and lots of times, the best, most successful diet is the one where we take it in small steps. Yeah. So even, you know, if you're a hardcore and go, well, I'm used to doing this, your body's way of dealing with things, with metabolism, it isn't to cut things in huge deficits. It's to cut it with the right amount of deficit that suits your body, to, you know, your size. And you know, if you reduce it just by enough, so if you would just reduce your calories, say by 100 or 150 calories, that's often enough to keep weight loss going for a considerable amount of time. And then you don't need to cut it by 500 or more in one go, because if you think, you know, some big males could be eating like 4,000 calories a day, but most females are on 1,500 or less. If you take 500 off, that's only going to give you a certain amount of runway to enable weight loss. You know, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. When that time runs out, you've got to then go the next step. So what do you do? Take another 500 off, because that's what you've done before. So then you're down to 500 calories, and no one can survive on 500 calories and be healthy and have energy and be happy. So even the people who are trying to achieve stage look with minimal fat, I still only reduce their calories by a small amount, and only when necessary. So you're monitoring that weight loss, and if you're losing a pound or 2 pounds a week, that's perfect.
No change.
Yeah,
well, my protocol I'm on right now, I've hit nearly 6 kilos this morning. I've been on the same amount of calories since the start. I've not touched anything. Nothing's changed. Yeah.
There you go.
That's what I mean. This is what people get, that momentum, and they get excited and they start doing more. Whereas if you found the plan that works, same with training, right? How many people want to change their training program every other week? Like, milk it until it's freaking dry, until you stop progressing or you get incredibly bored after 12 weeks at least. Then you make a change. The body's an adaptive mechanism. Give it time to adapt, and then you make a change, and then it will respond how you want it to.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's also important to realize that there isn't actually a pill that's going to get you there. You just have to, you know, accept that you need to put that work in yourself. You know, nobody else can do that for you. There isn't a magic potion. There isn't a pill that's, you know, going to speed things up. You know, it might in the short term, but what effect will that do to your health?
Well, if you want some very tough love here, and this is something I say to a lot of people, I hate saying this, but it is very true. However you've been living for the same amount of years has got you to where you are now. So if you want to change something, you have to fucking change. There's no shortcut. There's no secret. Get off your ass and make the change. If you want to become something that you're not right now, unfortunately, there is an element of change, whether that's changing your environment, your relationships, the food you eat, the amount of times you go to a gym, or even if you go to a gym, there's going to be an element of change. And change is scary to human beings because we get stuck in our routines. Like everyone is a creature of habit. Everyone is, to some extent. You have to break some sort of routine, which we get quite anxious from naturally. So there's going to be an element of fear and change that need to happen. And everyone wants the companies feed off of that to then give you the secret answer that doesn't exist. So you fall for that trap and pay their bills. So
you also need to give it a chance to work as well.
Exactly,
I can remember reading a study actually, which was around routines and habits. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it was something like 66 days it takes for a human to actually get into a habit for it to feel more natural.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in a week or 2 weeks, and you've just got to continue pushing through that time to the point where it just starts to feel more natural, and that does happen as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. 100%.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, talking about magic pills and supplements and things like this, obviously Jamie is, and yourself, 100% correct that if you don't do the exercise required, or if you don't eat healthily, if you don't do the work, then nothing will help you. You know, there are things out there that will speed up metabolism, that will uncoupled fat cells that are catalysts to help transport fat.
This is only talking maybe a 1 or 2%, isn't it, Matt? Like it's not
see
much.
them as amplifiers. That's how I look at them. They amplify progress. Yeah.
So this is it. If you're giving it 100%, or and then you can, there are certain things that you can use to amplify the process. But if you're only giving it 50%, they're not going to amplify 50%. They're not going to help. They're not the magic pill. It won't work. And there are chemicals out there, things such as DNP, which that's a topic in itself, and I'm not encouraging anybody to use that at all. But as a molecule, that is a fat burner that uncouples fat. But if you just took that pill on itself, it's never going to help you lose fat. So there is not a single magic pill out there that will help you lose fat. It has to come from yourself, and that's where people get it wrong. They think that they can do a little bit of exercise or maybe go on, eat healthily Monday to Friday and then go out on a binge Saturday and Sunday and blow all the calories through the roof and take all these magic things. And again, that's a money making industry, and you can see it. You Google fat burner, and that's
every
not going to help.
Company's got one.
Yeah, every company's got one, and they're there to make money. They actually don't work. They're not going to help you whatsoever, except give you negative health outcomes or send you buzzing off your tits because there's ridiculous amounts of caffeine in them. And
you have a panic attack.
Panic attack, yeah. Or So yeah, no, you're right. There is no magic to this. It's all got to come 100% from you. All the effort that you put in before to make yourself that way, you've got to reverse that effort and put the effort back in to make yourself lose the weight.
At the end of the day, anything worthwhile is going to require you to make an effort. And human beings are renowned for reducing the amount of effort they make.
We always look for the easy route.
We're water. We are water, basically.
Well, you know what? The easiest route is actually just doing it, getting it done.
It is actually, yeah. When you actually start the ball and it's rolling, you're like, oh, I wish I did this years ago. Everyone says that.
If you, and you know what as well, and another word, consistency is the key. If you're not consistent, I use the analogy of bricklayers. So you build one brick at a time. If you're consistent in laying a brick and you lay 10 bricks a day, well, in 10 days you've got 100 bricks, and in 100 days you've got 1,000 or whatever whatever the maths are. But it's consistent. That it's building that brick wall. If you can only lay 10 bricks a day, but do 2 and then take 2 off, and then do 2 and take, in a year's time, you've hardly laid any bricks in comparison to the person that's been consistent. And it's that over time that will get you the results. And that is the absolute key. Stick to something and do it.
Yeah, and I think nowadays, like everything happens so fast. So we expect results to happen fast with our bodies. With social media and emails and messages, it's all very quick. And we've put ourselves in this mindset that once we start something, the results will come quickly. And that just isn't the case with any kind of like body transformation or fat loss journey or muscle building journey. You just have to allow the process to and enjoy the journey, most importantly, because it's a phase of actually, it's a really amazing journey. Any kind of transformation journey is something that you need to enjoy every day, every second of.
You're becoming a better version of you, right? If you're pushing yourself, if you're overcoming challenges, enjoy that journey to self-development. It's a massive thing. Like you can't buy that. You can't buy that.
So go into, if you think about clients past and present that you've had, and the ones that are successful and the ones that enjoy it, or think of potentially a new client that's come to you and said, I've tried everything, it doesn't work. And then, when you're tracking what they're doing, it's the same old thing as they think they're doing something. So they'll say, yeah, I stick to my diet every day. I do exercise every day. And then when you actually start to track the consistency of what that is, you'll look and you go, Well, actually, looking back over the last 2 weeks, you were meant to do like 4 training sessions a week. Your average was only 2.
Yeah.
But you had it in your mind that you've done 4, and you're rolling on week to week thinking you've done 4, but actually your average is only 2. And then when you look at your consistency of your diet, yeah, you're consistent Monday to Friday, but on Saturdays and Sundays you're always having cheat meals and you're always doing this. So you're actually lying to yourself about your consistency. And then as a coach, when you analyze that, and you can start to pinpoint where they're not actually being consistent, and then they start to realize, you go, oh shit, yeah, okay. And then when they start to be consistent, when they start to get results, that's when they become happy and they're enjoying the process. And I think that's when it all knits together. That's the person, and you can't stop that person. And when they're on that full flow, it's like, yes, it's almost like they're off, and it's like, oh, this is where we wanted to be. You're lit up, and you're going, you're following it.
It's an awakening.
Yeah. But you must all have examples of that where someone said, but I train hard, and I only eat really good food and I still can't get results. But the analysis shows you that it's not actually true, and I think that's what people need to is not lie to themselves. It's not that they're lying to themselves, but just don't forget the things that you didn't do, or I think that's the key, because all of us will eat. How many times have you eaten a chocolate bar and then looked at the wrapper and went, oh shit, didn't even remember eating that? Because you said busy lives, we've got busy lives, and we've got food at the side of our desks or something, and we nibble on a biscuit and you don't realize you've had 2 or 3 biscuits. You're not logging it, and you're accumulating all these excessive calories, or you sat at your desk for 8 hours because you're too busy and you haven't got your 10,000 steps in and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of factors there that.
So you're trying to say there, Matt, to maybe some of the listeners to be more aware of what they're actually taking in on a day-to-day basis. That's obviously, that's a tip that would really help, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think being aware of and being real with yourself, realistic, and saying, and logging your food is a good one, because actually sometimes you don't realize that you have had 2 biscuits earlier on that day. And you'll go, oh no, I can have another biscuit. But if you're logging it as you go, you'll look and go, shit, I've already had 2 biscuits today. I'm really, really hungry. And it kind of, the fact that you've logged it and one of the questions might be about, I think binge eating, wasn't it? It was a question that we had. I think, I think a tip is to remember or log the food that you've eaten, and then when you keep looking at it, you realize how much food you've eaten. If we ignore the food we've eaten, then you're not conscious of actually how much you've eaten, and so you ignore it and then carry on eating, and then that leads you into eating excessively because we're being led by boredom, eating just because we're bored, or we tell ourselves we're hungry. We're not necessarily hungry. We just got nothing better to do, so we go to the fridge or the cupboard. So being aware exactly of all the food you've eaten that day can help you stop eating more.
And I think a diet that's quite, more rich in protein as well. That's definitely a great tip for any fat loss diet, because that's then going to help you retain your muscle mass as well. Plus, you're going to feel fuller for longer.
Exactly, and plus protein doesn't easily, if at all, store as fat. It doesn't convert to fat. So the higher protein you have, it won't convert to fat. Whereas a carbohydrate, any excessive carbohydrate will always store as fat. So.
Well, glucogenesis is a very stressful part of the body, right? So to turn protein into carbohydrates to then get stored is a very harsh process on the body.
Exactly.
Yeah, an amount of protein that it's almost, you can go, is there kind of a general rule would be a gram and a half for every pound of body weight, roughly, as a rule.
I go by lean mass. I would always go by lean mass personally, because if you go by body weight and you're obese, you're equating to weight that's nothing to do with muscle mass. So I go more on lean mass, but of course that's quite hard for some people to do on their own. I don't know about you, Matt. What do you do?
To be honest, it depends on the client, and sometimes it's not that important because some people will say it's, protein creates toxins and becomes poisonous at, elevated amounts. There's not a lot of data to prove that. But I mean, Jamie, if you could quote me wrong and state studies that do, but in reality, I don't think the average person. Let's step back a sec. Your average person doesn't eat enough protein, full stop.
Just to be clear, by the way, I'm fully supportive of high protein diets.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, so we're on the same page there. Don't worry.
Yeah. Good. But virtually 95% of people don't eat enough protein anyway. If you look at most people's diet, I know most people now are starting to get scared of carbs and take carbs out. But what they don't do is increase the protein to enough. And this, so. When I look at most people's diets, I have to say to them, you've got to eat more protein. So they eat things like cereal and vegetables and very, very little meat or protein sources in there at all.
I think we need a full podcast on this, on protein.
Yeah, proteins.
Yeah,
we probably need a full podcast on every single subject. all three of us can easily rant on something,
The reason I thought I would call that shot there is because I'm actually very, very interested. I've waited so long to find out about how you're getting on with your little experiment, Jamie.
Oh, well,
I'm just dying to know what's been getting on this week with your protocol.
Do you want me to start now? Yeah?
Yeah, let's do it now.
So before I go into this, I am no doctor. I'm going to do that right now. I am just a guy that loves health and I love reading and I love functional medicine. So I'm no doctor. This is all recommendations. Please don't copy me. In other words, so everything I do is based on health, everything I do. So for example, we're just talking about protein, right? If you had low stomach acid, you're not going to digest protein very well regardless. So if I put you on a high protein diet, it's going to backfire. So there's always a health element to pretty much everything we do, even how you absorb calories to some extent, right? But so long story short, all those basics we just covered, I know my body already. So I'm already in a 40% deficit for my maintenance phase. Anyone who wants to quote me, I use the Alan Aragon formula, I think it is. It's modified slightly from the institute I'm in, but we use that. I'm in a 40% deficit based on my data and my lean mass. So for me, that's 1,700 calories, I believe. It's not high. It is hell. I have not changed that. Me and the guy that I'm working with to just guide me, because I will be honest with you, every coach should have a coach. Every person should have a coach because you can never coach yourself. So I've hired someone that is actually really clued up on the lymphatic system. You'll find out why on this later. I hopefully will have him on a podcast one here very soon after you do this. So long story short, I nailed all the basics we just spoke about. I've got my macros in place. All those variables that everyone should start with, I know. I know that in place, right? So I long story short, had an episode last year of mold exposure. Well, I've been exposed to mold for 6 years and we ran a protocol. Anyone that saw my result, my transformation, that was based on a mold protocol with very little output. That was just me eating foods that didn't trigger mold, taking a very expensive protocol and looking after my health and sauntering. And after that happened, as we also discussed, I got very depressed and hated it. I was the leanest I'd ever been and I hated my life. I couldn't see my wife in hospital because I was too paranoid about food. It got that bad. And then I reversed that and I went full on dad bod when my twins were born. And I've enjoyed myself since December up till 2.5 weeks ago. And I basically knew that for me to do what I do, as we all know, you have to be representative of what you do and you have to be a role model to your clients. And you also have to be, it's not your body's your business card, but you have to represent what you talk and what you preach, right? So obviously I wasn't healthy. I gained quite a bit of weight through being a dad, still trained, did all those things, did the basics still, but just not as strict. And like Matt was saying, when you have a biscuit, you have another one because your son wants one, you just completely ignore it. And blame my son. And long story short, we wanted to do it. And in my head, I never do. I have to be goal driven. I've always been like this. So I was like, what can I do in 4 weeks? Because if I need to diet. So I want to build muscle and I want to compete, but I need more lean tissue. Okay. So everyone here, if you are classed as overweight and you're not lean, if you're a male and you're not sub 17 or even 15%, if you're female and you're not sub 20%, realistically, you should not be trying to build tissue until that is off of you. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in that because you utilize food properly, you're less inflamed, all these things that can hinder growth can occur. So my coach is very blunt. We get on very well. He was like, Jamie, you've got fat. You need to fucking accept that. And we need to now to get you back. So, and because of my health issues, I also got very swollen and very puffy, which is water and inflammation. So we then said, right, we need to diet. How long do you want to diet for? Straight away, I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing it to myself again because of last year. So I was like, 4 weeks, give me 4 weeks. I will get 10 kilos off me in 4 weeks. I have a very thingy mindset like that. We basically went off that. I already know my body very well. So we see this as I know what to eat for what works for me. And don't forget, where I've had mold exposure, I'm on a very low carb diet. And it doesn't mean that carbs are the answer to losing fat if you reduce them. Mycotoxins / mold and candida feed on carbs regardless. So I have to go very low for me to kill that off.
So
Okay?
this is very much a health aspect personal to you as well, isn't it, Jamie?
Yes, this is why I'm saying don't try and copy what I'm about to say. That's why I'm being that's why I'm being story driven. Yeah. So I'm really scared everyone's going to go do this. I'm like, you have to be aware. So basically we got my bloods done. On my bloods, I had very high. So I'm talking functional range, not conventional range. So if you took this to a GP, they'd probably completely disagree with me. Funny that. Sorry, I'm going to go down that road. So basophils are through the roof. Eosinophils are through the roof. Monocytes are through the roof. Liver enzymes were elevated. Ferritin was actually lower than before. LDL was high in my cholesterol, which actually is a sign of H. pylori in some things. So I pretty much 99% got H. pylori. And there's a lot of things. There was hormonal issues as well. So we had all that data. We gathered that data. I knew what to do from a calorie perspective. Obviously, the basics were there. I had my mold protocol that I've done before. So I basically combined everything into one. So to give you a rough idea of my day, today was a rest day. I woke up, I run 20 to 20, well, to be honest, I went 44 hours the other day. I run fast to help with autophagy, which is where your body recycles dead cells. Now I'm trying to kill toxins out of me. So by running autophagy is quite a good idea in a sensible manner. By the way, people, I didn't just stop eating. There is electrolyte balance, magnesium intake, all these things to consider. You don't just not eat and get on with life. It's not that simple. I ran that. I even took my family to Brighton that day. Wasn't that fun while they were eating fish and chips? And we ran that, and it's almost like to clear your system out. So I run 44-hour fast. On a rest day, I normally aim between 20 to whatever. I wake up, I have all my health protocol, which by the way, people, is at least 200 odd quid, probably way more than that actually, in supplements a month. So the health protocol is not cheap. And this is based on my blood work and my urine test for mold. So it's not just take this, it does this. Also in that supplement is a mixture of things like dandelion root to help with water retention, all these little things. And then I do a lymphatic drainage massage, which I'm still studying, and I'm writing a big presentation for my clients. So it's been like 4 slideshows long. I do a massage there, and that so your lymphatic system is your waste gate. It's like your sewer system to your body. So fat itself is a toxin. Theoretically, if you are really badly blocked up with your lymphatics, theoretically, your body is not in a great state to even pull fat out of cells because you're blocked up anyway. It's almost like, imagine a motorway. At the end of that motorway, if you've had a car accident, you're not going to shove more cars down the other end if it's not escaping anyway, right? So every day, just to see it as I open up my sewage system. So if I'm going to try and clear toxins through mold, inflammation, heavy metals, you name it, you need to open the gate first. So I open the gate, I do the massage. It is very weird. Believe me, my wife sees her do it every morning, naked in the front room. Isn't that fun?
The lymphatic,
yeah,
massage. What do you do there? Like, what is?
Before anyone Googles this, please don't listen to what Google says because it can actually make you worse. So the common go-to is the dry brush from the heels up, like dry brushing and stuff like that. That can actually make your symptoms very worse. I won't go into it on here because you can actually make your symptoms worse. There's very easy and then very advanced. So put it this way, the very first time was only 6 points. I did those points. I'm very sensitive to histamine. I have really bad histamine responses. The first time I ever did a massage, I had a rash from this thumb all the way across my chest, went bright red, and it was itching, and I had a headache. The very first time I did it. Once I continued the brush and finished and got in the sauna, completely went. And then I waited for
almost like pressure points then?
No. It's just clearing certain parts. So, for example, a lot of your lymphatic drains around your clavicle, or your lymphatic drains around your left clavicle and your right clavicle. So if and obviously this is all determined on organ health, like liver and stuff like that, right? So you kind of just want to open those pathways for those toxins to be able to dump. I also suffer with a lot of external inflammation and internal. So I feel very puffy. So for example, I know there's no demonizing foods, but for me, if I have a bagel, I could gain half a kilo like that because it feeds mold, it triggers an immune response. I get very watery and swollen because of an immune response. It's not fat loss. Sorry, it's not fat gain. So I can gain a kilo in a day with being in a deficit. That's nothing to do with fat gain. I just want to make that clear. So if I gained weight, it's just me telling me that, oh, I didn't react well to that food. I don't see it as, fuck, I've set myself back, I've gained fat. It's not that. It's just
your body response system.
If you cut your arm and like you're walking through the bush and you cut your arm, what's the first thing that happens? You swell up to repair it. Now, if I eat a bagel and it causes damage on the inside where I've got mold in my intestines per se, that will then cause an inflammatory response, almost like just a swollen response. That will then equate to some sort of weight gain. Okay.
Yeah.
This is why I'm not a massive fan of if you're not losing weight, you're not in a deficit. I've seen it countless times where, again, you guys might argue me, hopefully you don't, but where that is the case. For me anyway, and I've seen it with clients.
So I've actually found that really interesting that it didn't work for you, and because, you know, it's especially, you know, it's always calories in versus calories out as the main starting point, where you're actually, it didn't work for you. There was something else going on, and I bet there's so many people, you know, actually that will be out there that has got, you know, some underlying issues that's went on in previous life that maybe that won't work for them, and maybe they've tried everything to the T and it hasn't worked. So I think that's why it's just so important to hear, you know, what you're talking about now.
Yeah, that's, again, I've had people, there's quite a few transformations on the website, but one of them is a 23 week transformation. I think it was 17 weeks of it. He wasn't hungry. He was actually so full he couldn't eat anymore. And it was purely because he was so swollen. I measured him in calipers. Every site was tender and bright red. Like he actually like teared up because he was so tender. That's swelling, that's inflammation. If you had body fat alone, it wouldn't hurt when you pinch it. But he was like a swollen ball. It's like tough rubber when you pinch it. How many times have you seen someone, I can't just lose this, and it's like a swollen patch of skin they grab? It's not, your body composition is way more than just fat. There is inflammation related there. There's water. There's just, I mean, everyone just sees it as fat and muscle. There's so much more going on. So, but yeah, so, sorry, did someone say something then? Or was that me? I thought someone said something, sorry. So yeah, to carry on from there, I open up my lymphatics. I open up those, again, sounds very fatty, I know. And then after that, so today I do intervals on the bike, your classic HIIT training, which I freaking hate with a passion. And then I do half an hour's lifts. And then, oh, sorry, I take your Hombine. I'm on your Himbine as well. So obviously that is a very well-known fat burner, or if you want to call it that. And it just basically helps you pull fat out of cells. Let's just say that it helps with alpha receptors and stuff like that. So I take that with a black coffee, some salt, go for it, do my cardio, and then I have a 30-minute sauna. So the science behind that is I've opened up my wastegate, the lymphatics. I've then pulled fat out of cell through cardio. You don't sweat fat out, but then I increase my heart rate and I open my detoxification pathways, which is piss, poo, and sweat. So I poo every day, I pee every day, and I sweat every day. And just so you know, fat oxidization is called that for a reason. You breathe fat out. So people that say,
I was about to ask you that. I was going to Wildcat was going to say, do you know how you actually lose fat? Because I had searching this because I didn't know the answer.
It's oxidization. You breathe fat out. I think there's a tiny amount out of your urine. There's a tiny amount. So this is why breathing is so important. So during this, by the way, I make sure I'm breathing through my diaphragm. That's another thing. It's not belly breathing. I don't know where that comes from. It's diaphragmatic breathing. So that's that. And then obviously I have a sauna, and then I run my fast, and I've just had my first meal before this. Now on a training day, it's very similar, apart from the saunas are in the evening, because I want to save my energy for training. So my battery is 100% for training, right? The foods I eat are very restrictive, purely because I know what sits well for me 100%. And this is I see this as 4 weeks of hell to almost give myself a kick up the arse. Once this 4 weeks is up, I'll be going back to having a fucking Oppo ice cream with my son every other day. I don't give a shit. Like, my son's happiness and my relationship with my kids means more to me than my abs or my water retention, right? But then at the end of this, I will then retest my bloods to see how well this worked. And the reason I say 10 kilos, it's not that that's my worth. It's not that 10 kilos lighter will make me happier. I was a lazy fat shit, and I gained 10 kilos of inflammation and fat. So I know, like, my photo shoot prep at my very leanest was 83 kilo. But then lockdown happened. So then the actual photo shoot, which got cancelled, and the next one, I was 85.8. So I was 99.7. There's no way I gained that much muscle. There's jack all way that I did that. So that's where the 10 kilos come from. It's not a magic number I just plucked. This is why it's so unique to the individual, right? So
Yeah.
I've just run that. And the minute I just, like we were saying earlier, I just went back to the foods I know sit well while my coach was writing my plan, because obviously it's very detailed for me, while he was doing that, because he's very functional in terms of movement. He's got me doing breathing patterns that I've never done before, and I found very hard to get at the start. But yeah, all that stuff. So while he was writing that, I just went back to my quote unquote go-to foods that last year I was having during my protocol. The first 4 days, I dropped 1.5 kilos. Because straight away, and also people probably don't know this, but I talk about stools a lot. All my clients listening will laugh at this. Straight away, I had a lot of loose stools because it finally was, I was stopped putting crap in, so my body can finally get rid of it. And this is where it all comes through, sis, right?
So I suppose that's what you wanted your body to respond. That's how you want it to respond, really, don't you?
When people do prolonged fast, you normally find their bowels open. Let's just leave it at that. If they don't, it's usually a stress response why it doesn't. But yes, because the body's finally, like, autophagy's kicked in, you've recycled dead cells and your body flushes them out. So, and yeah, so since we started it, I'm 3 weeks, well, technically it's 3 weeks this Sunday, but actually working with my coach has only been 2 weeks. So it's only when I started doing it, right? So I was annoyed. This is how much I hold myself to data. I had predicted that I'd be 6 kilos down by today. I'm 5.8, and that really wound me up this morning.
Oh,
but yeah, so that's gone. I've taught my wife years ago how to do biosignature measurements, the 12-point calipers. So she measures me every Sunday. She's a legend. Sorry, every Thursday. So that's dropped on the percentage, which obviously is massively influenced by inflammation. I dropped 1% this week, but I know I can drop more than that. But there was a few days where weight loss stalled. Very much so. And I was getting very annoyed because I know when I stall weight loss, especially when I'm at this weight, I know there's an issue going on externally, right? So I won't say the food, well, I can say it, doesn't matter. I've got histamine issues. Things like olive oil, avocado oil can trigger histamine if you don't have the relevant enzyme DAO to break down histamine, right? So I've been having olive oil in my meals. I noticed my weight loss really started to stall. It was winding me up. And I went, you know what? Let's just try it and go pull all those sort of foods out. Pulled them out. I dropped 0.5 kilo in a day. And since I pulled them out, it's continued. And now my weight loss has massively picked back up. So that is how, and again, I'm speaking I know there's a lot of people probably shaking over right now going, this is bullshit. Until you actually have digestive issues and health issues, the inflammatory response cannot be ignored. And most people have issues. They're just not aware of them. Like, how many people do you know labeled IBS? That is bullshit term for you've got a digestive issue. We don't know what it is. So your gut is irritable. Trust me, that can mean a million different things. So again, it's just stuff like that, right? So, but yeah, the idea of this protocol is I'm basically going to repeat that process. We're probably not even going to drop calories. The only thing we have done, and I'm being very transparent here, is although I like to think I'm this machine that can do whatever for 4 weeks, I would set 10,000 steps a day. Now, with 3 kids, a business to run, shitloads of studying to do, and a wife, and we've been watching Jeremy Clarkson's farm program, which is epic. I've been hitting 7,000 steps a day. Now, I said to my coach straight away, I'm sorry, but if I don't make my results now, that's on me because I've not been getting my steps in. So then we've just increased my cardio. So that's the only thing that's actually changed. My cardio's gone up by half an hour, which really pissed me off because I didn't want to do that. But again, it's my own fault. That's literally it. Everything else has stayed the exact same. I'm on 200 and, oh, Jesus. I just follow the plan. So it's 220 grams of protein, probably a bit less. It's 200 grams, 75 grams of carbs, 75 grams of fat. That's literally my life.
This is week 2, and we are 5.8 kilograms down, right?
Yeah, so the day I got back from my holidays, when I mentally started it, was 99.7 or 0.6, and I was 93.8 or 9 this morning.
Yeah, and this is a 4-week process, so you're over halfway there.
Yeah, but I do believe that I'll probably push it. But it depends. I might have a meal off with my family before we go to the Fit Expo, because it'll be landed dead on that, which is quite well timing, to be fair.
It is.
So I probably will have a meal off, so I'll probably gain at least all that weight back by then. I'm not joking. But yeah, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So just my point to it is I've combined the aggressiveness of a prep, the intelligence of measuring bloods and analyzing your blood work. So your body's literally telling you what is wrong. So then I've addressed that with supplements, with health changes, with vegetable intake. So for example, I've got elevated liver enzymes. So I'm now having a lot of bitter vegetables like rocket radish, chicory, which are lovely vegetables, obviously, to then improve bile function, which then aids in my liver health. Do you see what I mean? So I've got the blueprints behind me. I know how to diet. I've done it. And then I'm combining that with quite an aggressive scenario. And then I've also optimized my detoxification pathway. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that is every single thing that technically can affect fat loss or weight loss. So I've covered this is the experiment, right? I said this to one of my clients the other day. If I can't throw everything at it 100% and follow it through, I have no right to be teaching this stuff. So I'm basically, I will never do something until I've done it myself. And this is menstrual cycle related, obviously. I will never teach something unless I've done it. The only thing, obviously, unfortunately, I haven't been able to do is bodybuilding competition, which really winds me up because obviously my health. But yeah, so that is why I've done this. So if anyone after this phase, if anyone ever questions lymphatic systems, aggressive dieting, this, that, and the other, or even a mold journey, I've literally got that and my presentation I'm going to make, this is going to be the case study. So I'll break down in that presentation the case study. So basically, I'm a living test rat.
I think it sounds like so far so good, Jamie.
Yeah, it does. I just hold myself to a massive, like where I had like 4 days with 0 weight loss, that bites me because I'm so, where it's a 4 weeks of almost being a perfectionist, apart from the step aspect, it just winds you up when one variable doesn't make sense. And where I know my body, anyone that's dieted and done prepping and stuff like that, you learn your body and you'll learn very quickly that yours is different to X, Y, Z. So for me, olive oil didn't work. For someone like me, and Matt spoke before, Matt loves olive oil from his aspect. For me, it will never work because of the DAO response. That's a biological response. So I've got a mast cell activation syndrome. That's technically an autoimmune disease. So do you see what I mean? So I'm never going to be able to have that, whereas someone else will be fine. So it all depends, right? And yeah, so that's. Did I miss anything? Or is that?
No, I think that's good. I'm impressed. I am. Well done.
I said it's just like I said. In my opinion, it's pretty much to a T what I do. So I'm just combining it. And by my next blood test is due probably when we get back from the Fit Expo. Now, that'll be 3 blood tests in the space of, or since the start of May. I would have 3 blood tests done, and each of them are comparing as we go. So obviously identifying issues, eliminating them, stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I can breathe now. Sorry, I talk very quickly. Any questions? Any points?
We'll find out next week how this week's went as well. I think, Jamie, that'll be good to see because I really want to find out if we hit that 10 kilogram stage and how the next week feels, if we can still keep pushing through. So we'll catch up on that next week as well.
Yeah, I'll be gutted if I don't hit 10 kilo by the Fit Expo because I was way under 10 when I prepped. So I hope, again, I'm not bothered. If I only hit 8, it doesn't bother me at all. All I care about is that I've gone, sorry.
I'm actually going the opposite way. At the moment, I'm putting weight on.
Yeah, but don't forget, that's why I did this in the first place. I want to spend 6 months building. So I needed to, I hate the word, but resensitize things. So like technically in about a week's time.
Priming your body.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I need to nutrient petition and stuff like that. I need to make sure, and obviously health, like my blood test was saying I wasn't healthy. So I need to address that before we go pushing it even further. So once this phase is done with, Jamie will not diet again for at least 6 months. I'm telling you that now. It will be building. Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's an extreme way to get your body ready to prime, to prep, to build muscle, basically. It's literally it in a nutshell. So if anyone has any questions on that, feel free to reach out to me because I can talk about this for days, and I'm trying not to because we'll be here for another hour. Do you guys have any questions on it or that you think people would want to know?
No, it's actually blown my mind slightly. I still actually feel like I'm taking that information in because there's so many different aspects there that I wouldn't necessarily think about. And that I didn't know about. So yeah, I'm just taking that in really. And I find it really, really interesting because that's just a completely different angle to how I would ever, approach something. I think it's really, really interesting. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's really interesting stuff. I think from a viewer's perspective or a listener's perspective, a lot of that, because Jamie was talking fast as well, might actually go over the head.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. So I'm not sure whether you mentioned whether you're going to document any of this and have reference. If you've got at any point if it's in your intention to kind of document or reference this on your website or to your clients, then it might just be worth pointing that out on the podcast that when that's available for people to go to and refer to or read up. Then yeah.
Well, there's a reason I've done no posts of my body composition, because I'm waiting till the end. I've done like like things in this gym and stuff, but not shirtless, because I want to have that before and after effect. But in there, I'm planning on totaling up the total amount of hours doing cardio, the total amount of steps, the total amount of this, total amount I spent on supplements, total amount I spent on blood work. Like, I want to show people that the investment into your health, basically, right? And yeah, I will be totaling everything in a post for sure. And there will be a case study. So when I learn something, I always do a presentation on my client portal, and that will have probably about 4 on the lymphatic system alone. And I'll be using that because that's the only major change, is the lymphatic add-on to this that I never knew last year. So that's what I've added onto this protocol. In other words, I'm emptying the wastegate every day. So yeah, but there will be a document on it. Yeah.
Okay, wicked.
If I spoke that quickly, I do apologise. I get excited.
It's fine. I mean, that's a long podcast today. I think we're on an hour and a half. So,
sorry, guys.
It's not your fault at all. It's good. It was interesting, and pretty certain people, like I said, people will want a document to refer to understand it in slow time as well.
Real time.
Well, like me, I always like to go back to someone and refer, because I'll understand it when it's being said, and then a week later I'll forget it. So I always like that document to go back and just refresh my memory. So, so no, that's great. So next week then we've got a kind of an insight into Tyler's mind. I think everyone wants to get inside Tyler's head.
Yes.
Oh no, I don't know if that's a safe place to be, you know. Wild animals out of there.
I'm pretty certain it will what's the word? It will, everyone will have something to relate to that, I think, because you know, if you were perfect in every way, then it wouldn't be as interesting. I think the fact that you're coming from a real person with a real journey, with, you know, a real life, and real frustration and anger and disappointment and sadness and you know, all these different emotions, then it wouldn't be worth listening to. So I look forward to that one, definitely.
Your epic hero journey, Tyler. That's what it is.
The journey too.
All right then, so let's wrap it up there. That was a good podcast. Some of those questions were great, and it'd be great for viewers if you've got any comments or other questions you want us to touch on, you know, fire them into either me, Jamie, or Tyler, and we'll do our best to cover those on the next podcast. And I guess that's all from me.
Yeah, thanks very much for listening, everyone, and we'll catch up again next Friday.
Yep, we are now exhausted. See you later, everyone.
All right then, take care, guys. Bye now.
Take care, guys.